Hi, everyone, and welcome to EdgeServ's on-demand webinar. Today, we are with Alejandro Swaby talking about how to save on credit card fees and boost your revenue with dual pricing. So, hi, Alejandro.
Hey, Giovanna, thank you so much. Excited to be here today on demand. Like Giovanna said, I am Alejandro with EdgeServ POS, and we're going to talk a little bit about how your restaurant can save on credit card fees, boosting revenue. So really excited about this topic today. There's a lot of excitement around it, as well as some of the things that EdgeServ could do. But I wanted to really quickly just jump into EdgeServ really quickly. EdgeServ has been in operation since 2013. What makes EdgeServ special is it's owned and supported by a local network of dealers that are aligned with the restaurant market, not a Wall Street firm. So privately held, we're aligned with restaurants, and we live and work in the same areas that you do. Third is that EdgeServ is a modern point of sale system. So it gives you all the tools and bells and whistles that many of the big guys have: order and pay at the table, advanced reporting from your smartphone and your back office from anywhere, anytime, online ordering with no commissions. We're going to talk about dual pricing and true cash discounting today. Gift and loyalty card, e-gift, that's all really cool stuff that we have going on. QR code with dine-in menus, being able to have a QR code anywhere in the restaurant or even in your patio area, as well as fixed and mobile terminals to do orders at the table, tableside ordering, pay at the table, and again, different functionality around QR codes, such as pay at the table. So let's go ahead and dive in. So let's talk about the current state of restaurants today. There are a few macroeconomic factors impacting restaurants: labor pools, availability of employees, different states and counties mandating minimum wages and tipping. So that is a big effect on restaurants besides just your food costs. Labor costs and your labor pools are very expensive. The other aspect is compliance with those rules. I know many states have minimum hours and minimum tipped hours, and so it's difficult to run a restaurant. So we understand here at EdgeServ that running a restaurant is difficult. EdgeServ is a system that's designed to make you operate more efficiently, and we want to talk to you about that today. There are also a few different organizations that are helping restaurants. One of them is the National Restaurant Association. The National Restaurant Association is supporting the Credit Card Competition Act, which is a legislation in the U.S. here around trying to minimize some of the costs associated with credit card acceptance. And then Visa has also, in April of 2023, announced a cap on surcharging. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let's jump into that a little bit. So there's been some announcements on surcharging. A lot of restaurant owners ask me, what are different ways to save on credit card processing? So a lot of restaurants went to a surcharging style program, which was at the bottom of your receipt, having a line item that says a credit card fee or a non-cash adjustment or some level of an added on fee there. And so Visa announced in April of 2023 that they were reducing the cap there from 4% to 3%. So as of today, we're January 10th in 2024, the cap is at 3%. So anybody charging more on a surcharge more than 3% is basically out of compliance with what Visa is stating that a processor should allow a merchant to accept. We're also seeing on the local level, different jurisdictions having rules, again, imposed on those add-on fees in an effort to protect the consumer. And so doing it the right way, according to the state and your local county, I think is the most important part of that. Again, as of today, January 10th, 2024, we have not seen any type of federal mandate, but there is some chatter there. So for example, the CFPB has done some investigating into some of the payment networks and looking in and gaining knowledge around there. The CFPB is a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau based out of Washington. And so they have an effort to eliminate junk fees and hidden fees and protecting consumers of that sort. And so I think it's important to stay on top of, especially at your local county level, as well as your state level. You can see most of that information if you just Google your attorney general in your state, and you should be able to find some information pretty easily there. So let's move on here as well. Let's talk a little bit about the current state of the credit card processing industry as well. Credit card fees have increased over the past decade. Most of that has been happening mostly because of a consolidation in the market. The big players in the market have been gobbling up and buying up portfolios and buying other credit card companies. And so there's really, around 3 or 4 major, very large credit card companies here in the United States that are have consolidated, and we've seen some of those costs, which are therefore passed down into the restaurant side. We've also seen some trends into technology-driven credit card embedded. So when you just think about jumping into an Uber, you call the Uber and it automatically charges your credit card. That is a technology-driven payment application. And so we're seeing things like third-party ordering, just the Grubhubs, the Uber Eats, the large third-party companies have those embedded payment rails built into them. It's an embedded device. And we've also seen what I like to call a consumer softening to some of these fees. And so, for example, you use one of these large third-party ordering sites, you might order a meal for $15, but the check winds up being $32 just based on different fees and other things that are being added on there. And so consumers have been used to seeing differential level menu, differential level pricing. And so they're somewhat softened to it than they would have otherwise pre-COVID. And we've talked a little bit about regulation again on the state level and the county level. I think it's important to, again, Google your attorney general guidance on what that looks like. But again, EdgeServ point of sale dealers are local. They live and operate in your neighborhoods. And so we have a lot of wealth and knowledge available for these local markets. I'm in New York, and so New York just passed a regulation recently this month in January that will take effect in February, capping those surcharging level fees. And New Jersey last August also had an announcement as well, similarly around capping the surcharging fees. But there's some very good news for restaurant owners out there, especially ones that are looking to maximize their savings and to stay with those types of fee recovery style programs. And so I'm going to have some recommendations as we continue to go through these slides of a couple different ways that we can look at that. But let's just look at credit card processing as a whole really quickly. I kind of look at these as 3 different buckets. The first bucket is your traditional credit card processing, where you have, at the end of the month, you have a credit card bill and you pay your percentage that you negotiated with your bank or your merchant services company, and you're just paying a credit card processing fee at the end of every month. Your consumer does not, your customers, your patrons do not have any added charge or anything like that on their receipts. The second program is your surcharge level program. The surcharge level programs are your like 3% surcharges, the non-cash adjustment style programs where they're adding a fee on top of the check specifically for that credit card. And that's really where the regulation is really coming in. Again, there's that cap that was announced by Visa in April of 23 around those surcharging level programs. Some of those surcharging programs still do exist, but many of the state regulations are kind of steering away from the surcharge level programs. And then there's a newer program here for the restaurant market called dual pricing, but you may have seen it. So for decades, the petroleum market, when you go to your gas station, they've had a cash price and a credit card price, 2 clearly listed transparent prices based on the method of payment that you've had. So The petroleum market has been doing this for a very, very long time. It's a little bit newer to the credit card industry, but it's something that we're going to talk about today for a little bit. So this is an example of a screenshot that I took from the New York State Attorney General. And really what we were looking for was some guidance to give to restaurant owners on the different types of transactions exist. And so we're going to distribute this. You should be able to take a screenshot again or Google it just to get up-to-date guidance on it. But being able to have a compliant level of this type of credit card transaction, I think is very important, both from the credit card perspective and the debit card perspective. And just jumping back to the previous slide, we were just talking about surcharging based on all the rules associated both from the Visa guidance as well as many of the state and local guidance. Surcharging should not exist on a debit card level. So that's very difficult both from the payment rail side. It's very difficult for a restaurant owner or staff member on the front of the house to ask a customer, is this a debit card? Or to be able to recognize that on the fly. And so there are some tools in order to validate that. And so the two different ways that we see on these slides that we're able to provide a compliant level program is number one, the dual pricing, and number two, doing just a true cash discount. Just, hey, I'm going to give you a discount if you pay in cash. So those two programs are compliant based on the current guidance here that we have in this New York State consumer transactions screenshot that we got. So let's talk a little bit about recommendations. Not listed here, but again, I would strongly suggest you speak to one of your EdgeServ trusted advisors for a free evaluation to just get some knowledge on what exists, what they see other restaurants doing in the neighborhood. Looking at your local and state restaurant associations as well, I think is a good resource for you. But as a whole, based on us being a restaurant point of sale dealer that has modern tools available to independently owned restaurants, dual pricing seems to be a great way for restaurants to move forward, both from a compliance standpoint, from the Visa side, and being in a non-surcharge style program. Because this dual pricing is not a surcharge program. You have two clearly visible, distinct, and transparent prices. And EdgeServ also has a dual pricing version of the receipt. So we can very easily in the system be able to say, this is my regular price, but this is my cash discounted or my cash price. So in the scenario here, we have a miscellaneous item that's $1 but if they pay in cash, they only pay $1 for that item. So EdgeServ is able to clearly support that. And so we have a couple different examples of that here, even with a true cash discount. If dual pricing is not for you, there's still a way to offer your customer a cash discount. Again, as you notice here, there's no miscellaneous fee added. There's no credit card charge. There's no surcharge elements in here. All of your acceptance, all of your costs are built directly into the cost of the menu item here. And then we have the cash discount clearly defined. There's not an added charge. It's just a cash discounted price right over here. So that's really cool. That's something that EdgeServ does support. The other is making sure that your customers are aware that you have a cash discounting style program. It's important to make sure that they know that this is an incentive to them to stop by the ATM on the way to your restaurant. And if you do have an ATM in the restaurant, maybe that's an incentive for them. And as a reseller of EdgeServ, we have some verbiage. This is just an example of some verbiage or a sticker that we could help source out to get you on track so your customers are not surprised and they know that there is an incentive for doing these style of programs. So let's talk a little bit about implementing a successful program. Number one, do your research. Number two, you want to decide what style program works for you. If you're trying to really optimize your savings, then a dual pricing strategy would be the recommendation that we have as of today. But again, if doing a program where you're just running a traditional point of sale with traditional credit card processing works for you, EdgeServ will support that as well. EdgeServ resellers are aligned with the local restaurant, so loop in EdgeServ here as your local technology company partner and POS advisor. We always have options, and we're always talking to restaurant owners about what exists and what our guidances are there today. Also, you want an embedded solution, make it easy for your staff. We've seen some restaurants that have two different companies to do two or three different things, and it becomes more complex from the front of the house operation. It becomes more complex from the management side. EdgeServ has a fully embedded solution for true cash discounting as well as dual pricing embedded directly into EdgeServ POS with all the feature functionalities that you'd be looking at for a modern point of sale, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, the contactless payment, the Samsung Pay, the Apple Pay, the tap to pay, being able to do tips on those types of transactions. Those are all capable of being implemented directly within the EdgeServ style program. So I appreciate everybody that joined us on demand. I would encourage you to go to edgeservpos.com. But if you are interested in a free evaluation, I would say pick up the phone and call 855-776-6488. Give us a call, and we could pair you up with a local EdgeServ reseller that can give you some guidance, give you that information, maybe answer some of your questions there. Or you could also email info@edgeservpos.com. So I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks again for attending, and have a great day.